joining me is someone who did make a stand against this looking away and against this anti-Semitism that's now going crazy in Australia. It's Deborah Conway, an Australian rock legend since she co-founded the Do Re Mi, going on to record hits like It's Only the Beginning. But last week she featured in a tribute to Mushroom Records at the Rod Laver Arena and set social media alight by wearing the Jewish Star of David in clothes in Israeli colours. I spoke to her a short while ago, and a caution again, some viewers might find some of what she says confronting. Deborah Conway, thank you so much for coming on the show. Can I start with something that's really bothering me? The UN declares a period of the last few days about this is a time when we should be remembering men's violence against women, yet the UN women have been silent for weeks until just the other day about the most egregious attack on women, that pack rape of women on October 7 by Hamas, on Jewish women, and also the Teal Independents saying nothing that I can see about women while they're also celebrating this or marking this period. What do you make of this silence?
It is, it's completely astounding, Andrew. I don't know what to make of it. It was an extraordinary assault on October the 7th. Women and girls raped, mutilated, had their breasts cut off. Firearms were used to fire into their genitals. It is so repulsive. It is so heinous. And yet we've heard nothing from all of the major institutions that are usually so noisy, so loud in this space, you know, the Me Too movements and UN and the rights for women. And I don't understand it. It's like everybody has, decided that collectively that if you're living in Israel, if you're Jewish, you're not allowed to be a victim. You can only be an oppressor, and therefore you deserve what you get. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way with any kind of moral clarity anyway. So I feel like everybody has collectively lost their minds, and hopefully the fog will lift at some point, and they'll all look at their actions and examine them again and wonder what on earth they were thinking. I do hope so.
Well, I wish I shared that optimism, but Deborah, you must be feeling betrayed. It's almost like it's become fashionable in the artistic world to be pro-Palestinian, but more particularly anti-Israeli. The hatred, you saw the production of The Seagull by the Sydney Theatre Company, actors, showing their loyalty to the Palestinian cause with keffiyehs and curtain calls, things like that. Tony Burke, the arts minister, cheering them on. Do you feel betrayed? Is that how you feel now?
I feel strange and peculiar. I feel like we're re-litigating a whole series of historical events from Berlin circa 1937. The display at the base of the Opera House, the mecca for excuse the word, for culture and beauty and arts in Australia, that was lit up to memorialise the people who had lost their lives and had been kidnapped on October the 7th, was the scene of some of the most awful displays of Jew hatred on October the 8th, before the IDF had lifted a finger to do anything about retrieving their hostages or trying to sort out, what Hamas were doing and wreak some justice. So, gas the Jews, I'm not sure if you're allowed to say that on Sky News, but they said it, and there was no interference. I believe that the only person that was arrested that day was a Jewish gentleman who was waving an Israeli flag. And the fact that they were allowed to get away with it, and still there have been no arrests as far as I'm aware, it sort of set a tone for everything. Look, I mean, I think that the progressive left have characterised this fight as between oppressor and oppressed, and they're there are myriad of examples, I guess, that they can lay that on top of, but they can't lay it on top of the Middle East. It's far more complex than that. But they're trying, and they're trying to jam the square peg into the round hole. And this is what they come up with. It's an utterly morally compromised, strange view of the world where, even though Gaza is not occupied and hasn't been since 2005, the Israelis are not allowed to defend themselves. It's the ultimate gaslighting, really.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of people crawl up in a hole and put the doona over their heads. I mean, it's just too confronting to even look at for some people. But you went out there. You addressed with a big Star of David and in Israeli colours in that concert for mushrooms. What statement were you making there?
I think since October the 7th, everybody I know who's Jewish has felt utterly wretched, really, depressed and kind of powerless, and watching in horror as the tide of anti-Semitism rises and rises with very little pushback. And I think that we saw an opportunity to say to people, we're Jewish, and we're not embarrassed about being Jewish. We're proud of being Jewish, and we want to stand up and say, we belong to this group, and we're not, we stand for you. And it was a kind of a feeling of empowerment to do that, and it kind of was impolite in a way, because it's almost impolite at this point to stand up and say, I'm a Zionist. And what is a Zionist? A Zionist is someone who believes there should be a Jewish democratic state. That's all. Yes.
And now you live in a country where Israel has just issued a travel warning alert. Do not, if you're visiting Australia and you're a Jew, be very careful. I mean, what a shameful moment in our history.
It's so strange. So strange.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I am grateful to you for standing up and for being proud and not being cowed at all. And as always, Deborah, I mean, I love your music, but I admire your stand perhaps even more. Deborah Conway, thank you so much indeed for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. Thank you.